Hello, welcome to NEA's video series on the anatomy of a microcredential. This video focuses on the Part 2 Artifacts and Rubrics section of the microcredential and is designed to help answer any questions you may have as you move through your work on this part of the microcredential. So what is the purpose of Part 2 Artifacts and Rubrics, and how do I successfully complete it? The Part 2 Artifacts and Rubrics section of the Submission Guidelines and Evaluation Criteria is the place where you showcase the work you have done to demonstrate that you have mastered the competency for the microcredential. For example, the Part 2 Work Examples Artifacts section of the Classroom Expectations and Routines microcredential details the submission and assessment expectations for 3 different artifacts. Artifact 1 is a 2-column chart and the rubric. Artifact 2 is the analysis of the 2-column chart and the rubric. Artifact 3 is the goal and action plan along with the rubric. This means that there are 3 different artifacts that you will need to submit. Each artifact has its own set of expectations and guidelines that you need to follow. You need to read this section carefully so that you know what you need to do. You should go back to the method component and the resource sections if you do not understand a requirement you need to fulfill for Part 2. This also means that the success criteria for each artifact is outlined in the rubric. Please read through the rubric to make sure that your submission meets the criteria for proficiency. All of the microcredentials have a Part 2 Artifacts and Rubrics section. Please read all directions in the rubric carefully before completing and submitting your artifacts. Artifacts are often rejected because the submitter missed important information presented in the directions and/or the rubric. A thought on suggested file format. Part 2 suggests that you use the PDF as a preferred file format. Often, the sharing settings for Google Drive or OneDrive files are not correctly set and the reviewer cannot access the file. When this happens, the submission will be returned, which ultimately slows down the approval process. If you need help, please reach out. If a submission is returned to you, there is usually feedback from the assessor explaining what you need to revise before you resubmit. If you do not understand the feedback or need any kind of help, please let us know. Text micro to 48744 and an educator will respond to your questions within 48 hours.